Starting off this countdown, we have When Duty Calls. I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go. You would just hope that no one was around to catch you. Don't want an old lady walking her dog to run into you, popping a squat behind a bush and letting one go. And you really don't want a Google car to pass by and catch you in the act and then publish it online for everyone to see. Because that's actually what happened to this guy. Poor dude was trying so hard to be discreet and he just couldn't win. What's worse is that his company's vehicle wasn't blurred. So now if his work sees this, it's probably very easy to identify him. In our 9th spot today, we have the pentagram. The sigil of Baphomet is the official insignia of the Church of Satan. So of course many people consider the symbol to be satanic. Well, here we have what appears to be this symbol located on the southern shore of the Upper Tobol Reservoir. This symbol is massive. It's roughly 1,200 feet or 366 meters in diameter. Many people were wondering, what on earth is this for? Some say it's used for devil worship or sacrifices. Thankfully, it's not, but it's still something creepy. It is actually an abandoned Soviet-era camp, and I believe that the lines that we see that appear to be engraved in the earth are actually roads. What a great design, huh? In our 8th spot, we have the aliens. Are aliens real? Do you believe in them? Well, Google Earth seems to have captured this weird being on a balcony in France. See for yourself. Now, what on earth is that? Is it a weird statue put outside to scare away the neighbors or meddling kids? The dude's face looks like it could be the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. Did they decide to take these pictures on Halloween? Like, I have so many questions. Or maybe it's a real alien. At this point, aliens probably do live among us, so we're all aliens. I'm an alien. In our 7th spot, we have the disposed bodies. Now, I don't know what's going on here. Was this an art project gone wrong? Did a clothing store shut down and they had to give away their mannequins? Or is this a scene from Goosebumps? There's something so creepy about these discarded mannequins. Like the fact that they're wrapped up. What if they're the works of a serial killer? I mean, think about it, okay? It's pretty clever to discard of a body that way. You wrap the cut up body parts to make it look like they aren't real body parts, meanwhile, they are. Hidden in plain sight. Please don't get any ideas. I just have an overactive imagination. In reality, it probably just was an art project, just a very creepy one. The guy in the trunk. Now, I have multiple questions for this, and I really don't know if I want to know the answers to them. First off, why is this guy naked? Second, why is he in the trunk of someone's car? Like, are we witnessing a kidnapping or is he escaping a kidnapping? Next, what's with the dog? It better just be taking a nap, okay? There's just so much going on in this picture. Let's just hope that he was intentionally naked and intentionally wanted to go lie down in his trunk for a bit, okay? Like, this could be used as inspiration for the 4th Hangover movie. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Handy Mandy. This next one is not PG-13, okay? As if that naked man was. But seriously, warning, the next one is for mature audience members only. Because we got 2 individuals getting frisky in some alleyway. The man can clearly be seen with his pants down, and the woman's hand is in that general direction, so you get what's going on. And if you don't, you're too young to be watching this. Looks like Google is out here ruining everyone's fun. How awkward would it be not only to get caught, but having an image taken of you getting caught and uploaded online? In our 4th spot, we have the creepy scarecrows. Located in a field in Finland, we have what they call the silent people, which are 1,000 scarecrows lined up in a field. This was done by the artist Riho Kila. No thank you, I'm sorry. I'd be too scared of them like coming alive at night or something. Also, the name the silent people, it's creepy. But hey, at least those will scare away the crows, you know, and anyone, for a matter of fact. Moving on to number 3, we have the mooning. In April of 2018, an English man named Toby Sullivan was out for a walk with his friend when he spotted the Google car. So he did what any normal person would do. He dropped his drawers and full-on mooned the camera. Now, I don't know what was running through his mind when he did this, but I definitely did not need to see his peach. Also, for the longest time, his buttocks was uncensored and people could literally zoom into his crack. Okay, it's a little TMI. But when the photo and Toby's story went viral, Google decided to finally censor this guy's behind. Thank gosh. But even with the censor, you can still fully see this guy's crack, so. Coming in at number 2, we have mowing the lawn. Here's another young lad that recognized the Google car and thought, now is my time to shine. This guy was out mowing his lawn when he spotted the car and decided to lift up his shirt and flash the camera. Even though his face is pixelated, you can see he's giving Google a funny face, a little ah you know? I bet him and his family had a big laugh about that one. But seriously, that meant that every time someone looked up his place to get directions or whatnot, that image popped up. Boy oh boy. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the mannequins. We got more creepy mannequins, folks. This time, we know for sure that they are mannequins and not just wrapped up dead bodies. So you may be wondering, that's an odd way to decorate your lawn. Where is this? A nuclear testing zone? No, this is a neighborhood in Santa Rosa, California. Apparently, a neighbor complained, probably a Karen, that this guy's fence was too high for the city's law. So the neighbors lowered their fence, but then in spite, he decorated his yard so that his neighbors wake up every morning to this lovely view. I mean, there's no rules against having mannequins in your yard, so should've just let him have his high fence. That's what you get. Starting off this countdown, we have the Half Moon Schooner yacht. This was a German racing yacht that was built in 1908, Germany. The yacht was built as a wedding present for Count Gustav von Böglin und Haubach. Yeah, that was his full name, what a mouthful. Anyways, the yacht was eventually seized by the British during World War II and resold to become a US cabaret boat during the Prohibition era. In fact, its original name was the Germania, but when it resold, it got named the Half Moon. But the yacht ended up sinking during a terrible storm in 1930. Now it lies at the bottom of the ocean near Key Biscayne, Florida. In fact, now it's a popular dive spot for snorkelers and divers.
In at 9, the SS Mahano. The SS Mahano actually has quite the interesting story. Originally a passenger ship, during World War I, New Zealand converted the vessel into a floating hospital of sorts. After the war though, it was returned to a passenger ship, which in my mind is kinda freaky. Yeah, this is a passenger ship now, but it used to house hundreds of wounded soldiers. Totally worth the ticket price. But I'm guessing the whole floating hospital thing kinda hurt sales, since the ship was sold to an Osaka shipbreaker company in 1935, who intended to tear it apart for scrap metal. However, the ship never made it to the buyer. A cyclone had severed the tow line connected to the Una, the ship that was doing the towing. You can now see the wreck on Google Earth on the beach of Fraser Island off the coast of Queensland, Australia. There was also a small crew on board that luckily survived, but if the ship was in such a state that it had to be towed, why was there a crew on it? Maybe it was to maintain the ship or something, but I mean, if it was gonna be used for scrap metal anyway, does it really matter?
In our 8th spot today, we have Costa Concordia. On January 13th of 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia crashed into underwater rocks in shallow waters that they didn't see coming. The impact left damage to the ship and it started to sink. Eventually, it capsized completely and sank to the ground. The rescue took a total of 6 hours, and most passengers did make it back on shore. Sadly, 34 people lost their lives in this tragedy, 27 passengers, 5 crew members, and 2 rescue workers. The ship was unsalvageable, so it was left on the coast of Giglio Island in Italy, where it sunk. Images of the sunken ship have been captured on Google Earth. There are multiple photos of the ship laying on its side, and over the years you can see the ship become more and more deteriorated.
And at 7, the St. Christopher. The St. Christopher will likely spend the rest of its days, those days in a sense being eternal because it's a ship, in the harbor of Ushuaia in southern Argentina. The ship, as a part of the Land Lease Act, was an American-built rescue tugboat that served in the British Royal Navy during World War II. The Navy decommissioned it after the war and sold it to a man in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1947. It was chartered for salvage operations but ran into engine trouble and rudder damage in the Beagle Channel by Ushuaia. The St. Christopher ran ashore in 1957 and was abandoned, with the remaining fuel being drained to prevent an environmental disaster. But not until 2004. Great hustle, gents. Nearly 50 years later, huh? Really got your priorities sorted. I guess I had you looking in the wrong section. How could I be so stupid? I really hope that that trend isn't dead when this goes out. It might be.
Coming in at number 6, we have the SS Jasm. This ship holds the title for one of the largest shipwrecks ever seen on Google Earth. The SS Jasm was a Bolivian cargo ferry that sunk on the Wingate Reef off the coast of Sudan. On the evening of December 1st, 2003, this ship sunk, and to this day, it is still unclear as to why it sunk. On Google Earth, you can see this big white ship laying on its side, in the same position where it capsized. Besides that, the ship remains a mystery. Now it's another popular dive spot for scuba divers and snorkelers.
Halfway through, and at number 5, the Garden of Eden. Now, I'm not a religious man per se, but I know the stories. The Garden of Eden was meant to be a utopia. Adam was placed here and told that he could eat from any tree aside from the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. They end up eating from the tree anyway and then are cast out of the garden. Well, in layman's terms at least. But there are many theories or ideas as to where this garden was on Earth. Some think that it wasn't on Earth, but multiple renditions place it in Iraq. One of them specifically claiming Basra as the location of the garden, which only makes this giant vessel off the coast even more intriguing. In the northwest section of Arvind Rood, you can see a capsized ship roughly 150 meters long and just over 50 meters offshore. And apparently this isn't the only shipwreck in Arvind Rood either. Just the only one that you can see, particularly from Google Earth.
Coming in at number 4, we have the SS Francisco Morazan. On November 27th of 1960, the SS Francisco Morazan left Chicago and headed out towards Holland. They had 940 tons of cargo aboard the ship. However, they never made it to their destination. By day 2 of traveling, they ran into a wild snowstorm. The wind speed was going 40 miles per hour, and as a result, water was being swept aboard the ship. Not only that, but they couldn't see anything. They were blinded by the snow and heavy fog. With their vision being impaired, they accidentally sailed their ship right into shallow water, trapping them by South Manitou Island. Now, the crew ended up abandoning the ship and it was just left there. The ship's owner never came forward and claimed it, so it was literally left there to rot. You can still see it today, just chilling in Lake Michigan.
Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Skeleton Coast. Skeleton Coast sits just north of Lüderitz in Namibia, and was named thanks to the countless whale and sea bones that had once littered the shore, thanks to its whaling history. However, nowadays, it's more so home to the skeletal remains of shipwrecks that are commonly caught ashore by rocks and fog. The 976-mile long, or 1,570 kilometers for the rest of the world, Skeleton Coast is littered with shipwrecks, and that's due to, if you don't mind a little science, when the Atlantic's cold currents mix with the warm air of the Namib Desert, they end up creating a cold, dense fog. The kind that Scooby-Doo would cut a burger out of using a dead pirate's sword and then eat. The burger, not the sword. According to BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, you crazies, the Khoisan Bushmen refer to Skeleton Coast as the land God created in anger, which is a whole other can of worms that I'm not gonna touch. Seems like a fun vacation spot though, if you want to get smitten by Chuck.
In our second spot, we have the MS World Discoverer, and sadly, this one did not get to discover the world. The MS World Discoverer was a Danish cruise ship that was constructed in 1974, and for over 25 years it changed ownership a number of times. That was until one day on April of 2000 when it took its last cruise. It was sailing in the Pacific Ocean when it struck an uncharted reef formation. Thankfully, all the passengers were rescued. The crew sent out a distress signal and a passenger ferry came to their help. All passengers were put on the passenger ferry. Now, before anyone could arrange to save the ship, it was actually ransacked and looted by locals. They then decided that saving the ship would be far too expensive and tough, so it wouldn't be worth it. So they left it there ever since. On Google Maps, you can see this ship just chilling on its side.
And finally, in at number 1, the Costa Verde. An avid UFO hunter looking for signs of alien activity on Google Earth believes that he had discovered 3 new shipwrecks. Scott C. Waring posted his discovery on the website UFOsightingsdaily.com, which usually features details of alleged UFO or alien sightings. A website that I didn't know existed until now, but I'm definitely gonna have to look it up later. The alien hunter highlighted 3 dark boat-shaped objects in the shallow area off the coast of Costa Verde, which is a really weird thing to say, but in Mexico. He posted on May 4th, 2017, quote, "You know me, always searching for the hidden mysteries of life. Well, today I stumbled upon something that's not a UFO, but is still absolutely amazing due to its size. One wreck, the first on his list, was 138 meters long, which is more than half the length of the Titanic, which you are also able to find on Google Earth, but you have to type in the coordinates to where it's sunk. You can't actually see the wreck. Here's the coordinates if you want to look it up for yourself. It should be here somewhere. He also found a 61 meter long ship and a 12 meter long fishing boat in the same area, which makes me think maybe he did find evidence of aliens. Oh.
Starting us off at number 10 is a massive pentagram. In an isolated corner of Kazakhstan lies a dark symbol measuring roughly 1,200 feet that appears to have been literally carved right into the Earth's surface. Although you might not be able to fully see the entire symbol at ground level, from above, the stark pentagram is clear as day. Conspiracy theorists have linked the cliffside pentagram to the Freemasons and Wiccans, believing that it is a site of animal sacrifice and satanic ritual, although this has never actually been totally confirmed. But I will admit, it is a bit mysterious. Apparently, there are almost no other signs of human habitation in the area, plus, you know, a giant pentagram etched into the Earth's surface isn't something you see every day, nor is it usually a great sign. So whether it is a cursed geoglyph from Satan worshippers or not, maybe it's just better to play it safe and steer clear. Coming in at number 9, a hill of crosses. Found on top of a hill in northern Lithuania is a site that, depending on your own personal beliefs, could either be considered a thing of beauty or one of the most strange things in the world. The Hill of Crosses began popping up back in 1831 following the Polish-Russian uprising, and over the years it has grown to host nearly 100,000 crosses, crucifixes, rosaries, and religious carvings. As generations pass and the collection grows, the place has come to signify the peaceful endurance of Lithuanian people despite the threats they face throughout history. Now, that part is lovely, I can't deny. But also, I know I'm not alone in seeing a hill filled with an overflowing amount of religious symbols and feeling a little uneasy. Since, you know, usually that many in one place is to ward off some kind of evil. That being said, maybe it really is nothing but a beautiful display and a symbol of their endurance. But are you willing to go and find out yourself? Coming in at number 8, Nagoro. A teeny little rural village in the Aya Valley region of Japan. What makes this seemingly cute and quaint town a mysterious and creepy attraction is that it is famous for being filled with upwards of 350 life-sized dolls. Now, I don't know about you, but there are few things I find more terrifying than creepy dolls, and it's only made creepier when you find out that the entire village is only made up of about 27 residents. Apparently in the early 2000s, Tsukimi Ayano, who'd moved away from the area when she was young, moved back once her father fell ill, and as a gift for him, she made her first doll in his likeness and placed it in a field. And since that day, she has made more than 400. But she isn't alone in this endeavor. Inspired by the initial doll for her father, many residents in the village followed in her footsteps and began making their own life-size dolls in their likeness or for their loved ones, and soon enough, even the school was joining in on the trend. Sadly, the school closed in 2012 due to the decreasing population. However, the dolls remain scattered across the village, growing in numbers as the years go by. I mean, visit it at your own risk, but don't say I didn't warn you about a village filled with 400 creepy dolls. Coming in at number 7, the Parikala Sculpture Park. Similarly to the Village of Dolls, this garden was created by a self-taught recluse artist named Viho Ronkonen, and this exhibit is definitely one of the more haunting things I have come across. Born in 1944, Ronkonen began working at a nearby paper mill at the age of 16. And as the story goes, he used his first paycheck to buy apple seedlings and a bag of concrete. And so his eerie sculpture garden began. For the next 50 years, he continued to add to his collection. So much so that by the time he passed away in 2010, there were 550 completed concrete sculptures adorning his property. However, these statues are very, interesting, often placed in extremely odd positions. For example, one of the most strange parts is the 225 naked yogi section. However, they are not the only ones that give off a creepy vibe. Some of the statues sport human teeth, which makes me feel very worried about where he found those, while others were created with a speaker placed inside them that omits incomprehensible sounds. I mean, top to bottom, it's just all a very strange little place. Coming in at number 6 is Snake Island. Found off the coast of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean is an island that I am warning you now to never visit. Quite literally, the place of nightmares, this island is home to the critically endangered golden lancehead pit viper, who became trapped on the island thousands of years ago at the end of the last ice age. Apparently, as the ocean levels were rising due to the melting ice, this island became disconnected from the mainland, which in turn forced the snakes to adapt to a new environment, eventually increasing their population to such a high degree that the island was rendered entirely too dangerous for public visitation. Now, I bet you're wondering, there are tons of venomous snakes everywhere. Why is this place so different? Well, for starters, it is pretty small as far as islands go, measuring only about 106 acres, but it's also home to upwards of 4,000 snakes, each weaponized with a venom so deadly that it can actually melt human flesh. In case you're wondering, that is roughly 1 snake per square meter, or 10 feet. So with that many snakes trapped on an island that small, there is pretty much nowhere you can escape from them. Coming in at number 5, Hashima Island. At one point in time, this small island off the coast of Nagasaki was a huge mecca for undersea coal mining. However, due to a number of atrocities committed during World War II, it now lies an abandoned island, void of all inhabitants, but filled with many ghosts from its past. It all started when the island was purchased by the Mitsubishi Group in 1890, and they began extracting coal from the undersea mines. By 1916, business was growing, and so they began building infrastructure to house the miners and their families, and over the next 50 years, the small island city continued to grow. However, it all started to go down south around 1930, when the company began pushing conscripted Korean civilians and Chinese prisoners of war into forced labor under very harsh and dangerous conditions paired with brutal treatment. Due to the labor conditions, an estimated 1,300 of these conscripted workers died on the island, either by underground accidents, malnutrition, or exhaustion. This treatment continued despite the rising death toll until the late 1960s, when the petroleum industry began turning coal essentially obsolete. Finally, by 1974, Mitsubishi closed the mine and the island was cleared indefinitely. Now a literal ghost town filled with decaying buildings to match, it's believed that all the souls who lost their lives remain haunting this city to this day. Coming in at number 4, the former Sansi UFO houses. When construction on these peculiar houses began in 1978, they were marketed to be vacation resorts for US military officers coming from their East Asian postings. But as you might notice, they have an extremely futuristic look to them, hence why they got the nickname UFO houses. However, the bubbly pod-like architecture wasn't the only strange thing about these houses. A mere 2 years after construction began, the project was abandoned and never finished due to several car accidents and a number of construction workers who took their own lives on the job. This of course caused a huge loss on the investment, and they were forced to end the project. The plan from there was to tear down all the buildings, despite a major public pushback, and eventually in 2010 all the UFO houses were demolished. But of course, this still didn't answer the mysterious question on everyone's mind. What was behind all this tragedy, and why were they so hell-bent on destroying the buildings? Well, there are a few theories. Some believe that the site was the former burial ground for Dutch soldiers, and that the workers had been cursed during construction, while another theory claims that the tragedies were due to the bisecting of the Chinese dragon sculpture located near the resort gates. And of course, the shape of the buildings drew in conspiracy theorists who claim aliens were the reason for death, and that they could have threatened the company to tear it down. To be honest, no one knows why it all happened, but it's still considered a haunted place, so you better steer clear just to be safe. Coming in at number 3 is Vaz Island. Way back in the 1920s, the Red Army began searching for a discreet place to build a military complex for inventing, producing, and testing biological weapons. They wanted something small and far away from the Soviet borders so as not to draw attention, and eventually by 1948, such a place was found. Almost immediately, a top-secret Soviet lab began testing agents such as smallpox, anthrax, and plague, among others. However, What they didn't see coming was that the island, once split between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, would begin to grow in size once the Aral Sea began drying up in the 1960s. Then fast forward to 1971, and a weaponized smallpox was accidentally released from the lab, infecting 10 people, 3 of whom lost their life. And by the 1990s, the secrecy of the lab got compromised, and all island inhabitants were evacuated, leaving the base completely abandoned by 1991. However, in their haste to leave, many of the containers were not properly destroyed or sealed, and so over time, these containers began to leak, contaminating the grounds for decades. Now, the good news is that by 2002, a lot of the sites were decontaminated, but many areas still remain contaminated, and it's still one of the most feared and deadly places in the world. Coming in at number 2, North Yungas Road. Also hauntingly referred to as Death Road, the Yungas Road is a 60-kilometer long stretch found in Bolivia that I would highly recommend you don't take your chances with. As you can imagine, you don't get the nickname Death Road without having a reputation that precedes you. The original road was built in the 1930s by the forced labor of Paraguayan prisoners, and up until a new route was built back in 2006, it was pretty much the only way to go from region to region. During this time, the route became notorious for its dangerous conditions and rising death toll, on average facing 209 accidents per year, 96 of which resulted in death. However, some years were worse than others. In July of 1983, a bus fell from the road into the canyon, killing more than 100 passengers. Then later, in the mid-90s, the road was averaging 1 victim per day. Even in 2011, there was a total of 114 accidents and 42 deaths. Nowadays, the death road is restricted to purely cyclists, and cars must now use the new route. However, that doesn't mean it's still not just about the most dangerous road in the entire world. And last up in our number 1 spot, Bikini Atoll. A tiny ring of small coral islands is located in the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Bikini Atoll is a beautiful area with a dark and unfortunate backstory. You see, in the midst of World War II, after the nuclear attacks on Japanese soil took place, the American Army didn't waste much time before planning additional nuclear testing. Then in 1946, after deciding on the small area of Bikini Atoll, the military went ahead and forced the entire population to evacuate to neighboring islands so that they could carry out their nuclear testing. For the next 12 years, between 1946 and 1958, the United States detonated 23 nuclear devices at the site, including 20 hydrogen bombs, one of which was said to have been more than 1,000 times more powerful than the weapon dropped in Nagasaki, while another caused a giant tsunami, sinking several ships. Now, of course, there was not quite the same understanding of the lasting repercussions these tests would have. However, nearly a century later, and the island is still unfit for proper habitation due to the radiation and damage caused by these tests. So tragically, the residents that were promised to be relocated back to their home were never able to return. And if you ever get stranded there, you certainly won't last long.
The haunted crosswalk kicks things off in at number 10. Somewhere in South America on Google Maps, there is a crossroad, but there are some things you should know before you decide to cross the street at this busy intersection. Aside from looking both ways, before you cross, you might want to take extra precautions because you might stumble across a dark figure. According to the local legends, if you enter the middle, you will see everything go dark, and then you'll be met face to face with a shadowy figure known as the Crossroad Reaper. Well, here's a picture of the Reaper caught on Google Maps camera. Don't believe he's real? Well, why don't you try crossing the intersection yourself? And then you try to tell me you never saw him. Up next, number 9, we have the creepy Scientology base. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a ton of controversy over the years. From mistreatment of its members to its highly secretive practices, a lot of people are actually scared of this religion. For people that aren't members, it's actually pretty hard to know what exactly is going on inside of their buildings. One of their churches, called Trementina, is one of the properties owned by Scientology Scientology that can be seen on Google Maps over in New Mexico. Well, take a look for yourselves. You guys are looking at it right now. Okay, what the heck is happening inside of this building? They say that they use it to preserve books and movies, but honestly, who knows? They could be performing satanic rituals for all we know. Nuclear testing facility makes its way onto this list at number 8. Here we have a picture of a Google satellite image of a nuclear testing facility located in Nevada. So yeah, probably pretty close to Area 51. I think the reason why you should never visit this location is it's highly obvious. It's definitely not open to the public, and I'm not sure why you would want to even attempt to step foot near this location, and that's because it is full of so much radiation. Mushroom clouds can be seen up to 100 miles away in the distance, so this actually caused a lot more tourists wanting to visit Las Vegas. My idea of a good time does not involve slot machines and clouds of nuclear radiation, but that's just my opinion. It's actually really scary to think about it, that the fact that we are testing deadly nuclear weapons. Helltown in New Baltimore brings us to number 7. A Google Street View car managed to capture this image on their camera. Could this just be an equipment glitch, or could something more sinister be going on in this small town? Apparently people in this area are saying that there is a portal to hell in the area. Residents of New Baltimore have been reported that their little town has been taken over by evil demonic entities, so of course Google sent out a car to get, better pictures, more updated pictures, more accurate pictures. How about you bring them a couple of priests and it's time to bless the area. Next up, number 6, we have China's Area 51. What you're looking at right now could actually be China's version of Area 51. Is this real life right now? These strange white lines were discovered on Google Maps in the middle of China's Gobi Desert, and this image struck so many conversations online about what it could be. Most people believe that it's a calibration pattern for spy satellites, but then there are others that say that these lines prove aliens exist. These lines are located near the headquarters of China's space program. But unfortunately, we may never know the truth about what is really going on here. A very haunted bridge brings us to number 5. This is Booger Holler Bridge, and if you value your life, well, you'll never want to set foot or attempt to cross it, and that's because it is known to be extremely haunted. Legend has it that a father and son drowned while trying to cross the low bridge on a horse and buggy many years ago. And then there's another story about a woman and her child drowning when their car stalled on the bridge and the car was thrown into the river due to the strong current. People have even said that they can hear screams from the bridge, and people do satanic practices on it for some reason. So needless to say, the Google Street View car got close to the bridge, but they didn't dare cross it. Number 4, we have a creepy doll village. If you don't like looking at scary life-sized human dolls, then you'll never want to visit a small village in Nagoro, Japan. But in case you're curious, well, here's a taste of what you'll find there. Well, I told you that these dolls were creepy, but that's not all. Apparently an old lady will make a new doll every time someone in the village dies. So the amount of dolls outnumber the amount of people actually living in the village by about 10 to 1. I mean, could you imagine walking around at night and seeing all of these creepy dolls just staring at you? Couldn't they just be placed inside of an art gallery or something? This whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. So you know what, let's get the heck away from it and let's move on. Let's see what we have next. Scary underwater pyramids is up next at number 3. Well, this is an image taken from Google Maps that shows us that some creepy underwater pyramids might be lurking at the bottom of the ocean over in the Bahamas. This image sparked a lot of controversies when people said that these underwater pyramids can prove that aliens might be living among us. More reasonable people believe that these pyramids could have been made by an ancient civilization. But they also admit that we still can't rule out the existence of alien life forms, just yet. A nuclear fallout zone steps onto this list at number 2. Pripyat, Ukraine, has a bad reputation of being the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history. It's literally a ghost town with abandoned buildings that will probably never be lived in for a very long time. But the creepiest part of this town has to be this picture right here. Well, take a look for yourselves. It's literally a room full of old gas masks that were left behind. I don't know what's scarier, the amount of gas masks or the fact that there were child-sized gas masks left inside of an abandoned school. And topping this list, and at number 1, we have one of the most dangerous cities on Earth. This right here is El Bronx, Colombia. And even though the city is completely demolished now, it was once known as the most dangerous city on Earth. This was a neighborhood that was known for child prostitution and murder. Put it this way, if you found yourself walking the streets of this neighborhood, something awful would probably happen to you. Some of these buildings also had a lot of rotting murder victims inside, and gangs used to capture and feed rival gang members to starving dogs just to send the other gang a message.
Starting us off at number 10, we have Jeannette Island. Located somewhere in the East Siberian Sea, this mysterious tiny island measures just 1.2 miles in length, and according to the powers that be, we are not supposed to know about it. From what we can tell, it's mainly covered in ice, so it's highly unlikely that there's any kind of civilization there. So the million-dollar question is, what are they hiding? Apparently there have been some issues about who the island legally belongs to, with disputes between the US and Russia over the years, which has led some to believe it could be some kind of top secret military base or something. But whatever it is, it's blurred out on Google Maps and no one is allowed to visit. Next up at number 9, Patio de los Naranjos. Located in the gorgeous coastal city of Almeria in Spain, something about this place doesn't add up, and it's being kept a secret from the world. What's strange about this location in particular is that Patio de los Naranjos translates to Orange Tree Courtyard, which, if that were true, why on earth would we not be able to visit it? So it begs the question, what lies beneath that blurred out square on Google Maps, and what could be so dangerous about it that we aren't even allowed to see it virtually, let alone in person? Maybe it's a government building, or maybe it's a top secret military base, but whatever it is, they are not keen on anyone knowing what is going on, which to me seems very suspicious. Coming in at number 8, Amchitka Island. Once home to the Aleut people for over 2,500 years, Amchitka Island has had no permanent population since 1832. In 1836, when the United States purchased Alaska, they gained control of the territory, and it's likely this purchase had something to do with the declining population. But that's not all. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it became the largest underground nuclear testing site and was controversial even then, in fear that the test could cause severe environmental impacts and desolate the land. Currently it's under observation for radioactive leakage, and so it has been blurred out from Google Maps to keep visitors far, far away. Coming in at number 7, a Russian warehouse. Deep in an unnamed forest in Russia lies a strange building that no one is permitted to see. Already it sounds like the start of a spy movie. From ground level, it's likely all you would see is the double high fencing that surrounds the mysterious warehouses, but from a bird's eye view, you can see it all. But just because we can see it on Google does not mean they want us to know what's in there. I mean, generally when you put a giant strange building in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a huge fence, you are trying to keep something a secret. Although no one knows exactly what this strange mile-long warehouse is, many suspect it to be some kind of military storage facility, possibly even storing explosives. So if that is the case, it would make sense why they put it in the middle of nowhere and why no one is permitted to visit. Coming in at number 6, underwater pyramids. Located in the Bahamas, this photo found in Google Maps has left many thinking that they discovered underwater pyramids. Now, I know, this is a full conspiracy theory, but I mean I had to add it because it's too entertaining to leave out. Some believe it's proof of Atlantis or aliens themselves, while others have deduced it could have been built by an ancient civilization. The mysterious structure is estimated to measure between 3.5 to 11 miles across based on the photos, although no one knows for sure as you can't get to the structure to see for yourself. If it is in fact what many believe it to be, it would be bigger than any pyramid ever built. But seeing as though no one can visit them, it might be a long while before we know if these pyramids prove any kind of extraterrestrial involvement on Earth. Coming in at number 5, Sandy Island. Also known as the Phantom Island, this peculiar location was first discovered by the famous British explorer Captain James Cook in 1774. Now, what's crazy about Sandy Island is that it was documented on maps, globes, and even nautical charts for 238 years. But now if you go to Google Maps, you will see no such island. The reason being that in 1979, it was quite literally undiscovered, as no landmass existed there, but even so it remained on Google Maps until 2012. This seemingly conflicting information made many wonder if there was something that we weren't being told about this strange island, or non-island, and some conspiracy theorists even believe that it is truly there and that we are being lied to. I mean, it isn't every day that something is undiscovered, so it does make sense to wonder if there is something going on behind the scenes, but I guess we will never know for sure. Coming in at number 4, Areno La Hague. Fully pixelated out on Google Maps, this recycling plant has a very strict no visitors policy, which is likely why you are not able to see the entirety of the complex. You might be asking, a recycling plant, what's so bad about that I'm not allowed to visit? Well, it's not just any old recycling place for beer bottles and juice boxes. The Areno La Hague is a recycling plant for nuclear fuel. So as you can imagine, it is an extremely hazardous place littered with nuclear waste, and so for those very obvious reasons, Google Maps keeps it blurred out to keep visitors from trying to figure out how to get there. Coming in at number 3, the GROM headquarters. If you have ever Googled Warsaw in Poland, you may or may not have come across a strange group of buildings that look like mysterious blobs compared to the rest of the city around it. Well, as it turns out, this is no accident. Those buildings are GROM, or GROM, I'm not totally sure, headquarters, which is essentially Poland's Special Forces building. All I can find out about this top secret group is that they rescued CIA agents from a mission gone wrong in Desert Storm back in 1991. And whatever else they're up to, they do not want you to know about. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of the point. So as much as I am sure many of us would like to know what goes on in this super secret Polish spy headquarters, I'm afraid that information is highly classified, and their exact location will continue to remain a secret from the public. Coming in at number 2, a massive pentagram. Somewhere in the outskirts of Kazakhstan lies a dark symbol that has literally been carved into the earth. Although you might not be able to fully see the entire symbol at ground level, from above, the stark pentagram is clear as day. Conspiracy theorists have linked the cliffside pentagram to the Freemasons and Wiccans, stating that it is a site of animal sacrifice and satanic ritual, although this has never actually been confirmed. Still, the exact location of the pentagram is difficult to track down, and though not necessarily illegal to visit, I would definitely stay far away from anywhere rumored to be the site of a satanic ritual. And last up, in our number 1 spot today, we have a UFO crash site. Whether you tend to believe in aliens or not, this one is pretty freaking wild. From what you can see on Google Maps, it appears that a flying saucer crashed in the plains of South Africa. Around the UFO is a well-worn dirt path, which has led some to believe that aliens themselves could be hiding out there, as no one has visited the site since it was discovered, and how else would a dirt path have been formed if not by someone or something walking around the area? The top appears to be metallic from the area shot, which is unlike any rooftops on other buildings in the area, and many conspiracy theorists are convinced it's a UFO. No one has seen the site to know for sure, or at least no one has returned to tell the tale.
Kicking our list off at number 10, missing car. Gearing up for the holidays, it should be an exciting time, right? You put up lights, almost fall off a couple of ladders, you're freezing cold. It's good, right? It's family bonding. You want to have a laugh. You don't want to accidentally find a car that's been missing for 9 years. That's not a laugh at all. That's rather stressful. That's right, back in 2015, a car that had been missing since 2006 was accidentally found while employees at a Michigan mortuary home were decorating around the building for the holidays, which on paper, I'm like, that's fun. They're making the, trying to liven it up a little bit. That's great. But finding this, that's creepy, especially here, ooh. In a nearby pond, they saw what appeared to be the roof of a car, and it turns out if you had just taken a look on Google Maps first, or at any point, you would have found this car a lot sooner, before the holidays. and also not in person and terrifying. Finding this car also meant solving a 9-year-old missing person case. 72-year-old David Lee Niles most likely drove into the pond by accident. Now I'm gonna look on Google Maps after I'm done this list. Never know what you can find or solve, apparently. That's great. Looking at my neighbor's backyard, I'm like, what is that? Is that a tire? Is that a coffin? Number 9, the Kazakhstan pentagram. The Nazca lines, they're massive, they're beautiful, right? But they're not a jarring image to look at. A little man carved into the earth, that's amazing. That's kind of cute. A giant pentagram? That's haunting, that's not fun. And the fact that there appears to be no life or civilization around said pentagram, well, even worse. This symbol was first discovered in 2013, and it was carved into the ground into a deserted part of Kazakhstan. The closest city to the symbol is 12 miles away, the city of Lysychovsk, so, I mean, that would be quite a commute, whoever did this work of art. The symbol was made because that apparently was the outline of a park at one point in time. It was supposed to be shaped like a star, but if you accidentally went to the wrong place, checked Google Maps to see where to go, zoomed out, and then saw this, well, I don't know about you, but I would faint at the wheel. I would fall asleep. That's so scary. That's jarring to see on Google Maps. That's very, I don't like that. Number 8, Scientology hidden base. The Church of Scientology's base, like their underground hidden headquarters, their base near Trementia, New Mexico, is very alien. It doesn't look out, it doesn't stand out in a good way. I'm sure some of us are watching right now and they're torn. Some are on board with Scientology, and some can't stand the sight of Tom Cruise's face. Whatever your opinion is. On Google Maps, this looks like it should be Area 51. It looks like hieroglyphics, almost. If you saw this on a map in a video game, well, something good has to be nearby. Or terrible, one or the other. There's also a private airstrip nearby this symbol, so maybe there are aliens here? I don't know. Author John Sweeney says that this is a marker for the hidden bunker for the Church of Scientology. Now these symbols are apparently used by Scientologists as a guide to remind us where to go after returning to Earth, you know, post-apocalypse, when we all die and then all the Tom Cruises come back and they're like, hey, Mission Impossible 9, 10, 11, doesn't even matter. Number 7. 2012 Sandy Island. Does it exist or does it not exist? Come on, we need an answer. This island is becoming the new Atlantis, apparently. Back in 2012, the world did not end, obviously, but a new island was gifted to us, it seems. A previously undiscovered island just popped up on Google Maps. Now, it was called Sandy Island, and it was located northwest of New Caledonia, and appeared to be the size of Manhattan. Wasn't too big, but again, wasn't too small. We should be able to go and see something. However, when a group of scientists sailed in the area, it wasn't there. Yeah, the island just went away, or it sunk, or it moved, or it doesn't exist. I don't know, it's just not there. How lovely is that? They never found solid ground, only open water. They explained that this might be due to human errors, but do we believe that? I don't know, something's fishy here. Pun intended. I don't know, maybe a giant shark ate this island. Number 6, Big Bunny. It's normal to see bunny hills on Google Maps, but large bunnies on hills? Not what I signed up for. How does that happen? What? That shouldn't be a thing that exists, but it does, so now we have to talk about it. Located on the 5,000 foot high Coleto Fava mountain, there is somehow a massive 200 foot tall bunny. A knitted, pretty cute bunny. I don't know what's worse, being up close to it and seeing it massive in real life, or being far enough away that you see the whole creepy image of the bunny. Both are pretty gross. This rabbit is an art installation knitted by an art collective. So the whole purpose here was for tourists to come and jump around and play on it. Nice, I bet that's fun. I bet bugs love it as well. Number 5, Doll Village. This is like House of Wax kind of stuff. This is, it's one of the coolest places in my opinion. I would love to visit here, but I totally get why a lot of people are freaked out. There is a small village located in Shikoku, Japan, and what makes it creepy are of course the dolls spread out all over the place, and the lack of real living human people. All these dolls are made by the same person, and here's the kicker. According to reports, once a person passes away, this artist will replace them with a doll. Yeah, that noise you just made, that's why I put this on the list. That's terrifying, I don't like that at all. Another creepy thing here is that you won't see these dolls in the same place, but their creator, she'll deny moving them at all. So the dolls move on their own, that's cool. I lied, maybe this is the scariest place on earth and I'm not gonna visit. Ew, what if the dolls just looked at you? You're just sitting there and it's like, I don't like that, it gave me chills, creeps. Number 4, large lips. All right, large lips coming up next. After that creepy ghost town, we gotta throw in something different, right? Something nicer? I mean, I don't know. We still need to sleep at some point today. Located in Garb, Sudan, lies what appear to be a large set of lips. That's all I'll say about that. This is just a natural formation. There wasn't a lip park supposed to be built here. It's just Mother Nature, just doing her thing. Now, if the Earth could speak out of this mouth, what do you think she would say? She'd probably say, use your turn signal, and also stop littering. Thanks. Number 3, creepy figure. I saw this late one night when I was scrolling, like alone in my personal life, and I gasped. I don't know, I don't like this one bit. I know it's probably easy to explain, but it's too creepy and, well, to be honest, I'm not sure when I'll get the chance to bring it up again on this channel, so here we go. The streets of Nancy, France. Now on Google Maps, this is a great way to get excited for your trip to Nancy, France. You gotta go check out the roads, plan where you're gonna go. Oh, why is that one spot blurred out? That's weird, let's Google it. Well, before this random spot was blurred out by Google, this creepy statue was just chilling on Google Street View. Now, I'm not sure who found this first, but man, that must have been jarring. Oh boy. It's so scary that Google even blurred it. You know what I mean? Even Google was like, huh. That's it. Why the area is blurred? I mean, people probably wanted to go check it out, and that's a no-no. Leave people alone, right? Obviously. That's what Google Maps is for. Just stalk them and scroll out from above. Easy. And number 2, Australia Triangle. Not to be confused with the Bermuda Triangle, although that's also a weird one. This Australian Triangle was found, of course, on Google Maps, and I would check this one out. This is kind of cool. Anything alien, count me in. Put that tinfoil hat on. Let's do it. I'll watch signs on the plane on my way. It was originally discovered back in 2007, and some were quick to argue that this was a UFO that had made a pit stop on Earth. Google Maps got a shot of it. Others found a much more plausible, boring solution. They thought that it's a wind farm with 3 sets of wires that ultimately form a triangle, and in the middle part, it receives and transmits control signals. So it's not a UFO? Okay, are we sure? All right, we'll come back. Maybe part 2. We'll see. And finally, number 1, the Island of the Dolls. Back to doll stuff, gross. Some of these I would check out in person. I mean, sure, this last one here, the Island of the Dolls, I would only leave for Google Maps. Maybe, I'm not even sure I would zoom in on this place online. Isla de las Muñecas, this island for dolls, is famous because, of course, the dolls are on it, but there's also doll parts that are spread throughout it. Just hundreds of them everywhere. They would be hanging from trees or they would be nailed to the trees. Again, parts or full dolls, doesn't matter, it's all terrible to me. A resident by the name of Julian Santa Barrera is responsible for all these doll parts, and he did this to try and ward off demonic spirits. It worked so well that now humans don't even bother with it. He did this right after he found a body in a canal after it went missing, and to this day nobody dares to approach the island. Yeah, more than fair. There's a body? What? They would much rather snap a few pics from their boat, or, like me, just check it out from Google Maps. That's it. All you gotta do is this. Just zoom in and out. Easy.